you can make up to £6,000 per month. And imagine you're doing that for 12 months. We unfortunately had a guest there who fell victim to it because he woke up and there was... So we assumed that the benefit of that would be it'd have an uplift in terms of rentals. Yeah. We're in an age, I think, where our happiness is always being tested, you know, and you need to now start thinking about the future. We're encouraged to make money, then you're taxed. Yeah. You're encouraged to invest, then you're taxed. You own what you think you own, but you don't really own.
Welkom bij Dreams Unleashed, de podcast. De podcast waarin we de riemen losmaken rondom alles wat je tegenhoudt om jouw dromen waar te maken en je mooiste leven te leven. Wij zijn een type koppel, Tessa en Laurens, en we willen het maximale halen uit onszelf, onze relatie en ons ouderschap. And this episode is going to be in English because today we are with Sheena&Ange from London. They moved to Bali with their 2 kids and the 1 kid on the way. We're going to find out the gender later. We don't know yet. Together for how many? Many years.
Maybe that's a trick question. Maybe it's a trick for me to actually answer. So we've been together for 12 years and married now for 6 years this year.
Yes, so they've known each other for a long time. They were even born on the same day.
Yeah. Same day, same year.
Yeah, wow. So special. So real soulmates.
That's easy on celebrating holiday.
Well, they recently own a property business on Bali, and they are into the rent-to-rent business. And we are really willing to learn a lot from them today. They have 4 villas on the West Coast, and today we'll be diving into their business adventures, their challenges, and their upcoming plans. So, guys, welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Is there anything in my introduction that's missing?
No, but maybe you want to
add
what you do or how you kind of got into this.
Yeah. So my background is singer-songwriter in London, and we just had like quite a nice gap in London where our firstborn wasn't yet in school and our secondborn was just newborn, and so we were on like maternity, and our lease was coming up in London, and we were always talking about like, let's go to Bali. We were talking about it before our firstborn.
Then COVID happened.
Yeah, then babies happened, and then we're like, let's just do it. Let's just go for a little while.
Saw the window.
Yeah. And so we just packed all our suitcases and we're like, let's just go for a little while. And a little while turned out to be over a year now.
So we've been here for a while. My background is in project management, so mainly on the business side. And at the time when we traveled, I was towards the latter end of my MBA. So Bali was almost like a better alternative compared to London, where it's a lot more hectic, it's busy. And in Bali, obviously, studying and doing your MBA in the sun, it's just a lot better, isn't it? It's more easier. So I ended up completing that. And that's when we both started to think, you know, how do we make this long term? Because we looked at each other.
How do we stay here?
Let's stay. And then we fell into property. Well, initially, we found our love in art, isn't it? Mm-hmm. We're painters, abstract painters. And I think that kind of comes from Sheena's creativity and me just trying to latch onto some form of creativity. Like we both, so we started painting. We had like a really cool studio with some guys. The studio's called Compound. It's really nice, really cool artists as well. And we were fortunate enough to get a lease there. So, we got into painting. We moved to Tanalot on the basis that we were going to be going to the studio quite a lot. And it was from Tanalot that we found the interest in property.
Yeah. I think when we first came here, we were just newly in Bali, and we just started on Airbnb, and then we're like, okay, we're staying here a bit longer. Let's see what else we can find on like Facebook Marketplace for like longer leases and things like that. And over time, we realized, okay, we spent quite a bit on rent here, and we stayed in a few villas, and we thought if we're doing it from a consumer perspective, like everyone, like so many other people must be doing the same thing. And there were some villas that we stayed in that were amazing, and then some that weren't so. And from both our creative backgrounds, I just love interiors anyway. So I was like, we could always, do this here or do that there. So afterwards we thought, let's just get something that we can get our kind of teeth stuck into and put our own little stamp on it. And rent it out for a bit more for a premium, which we've managed to do.
Yeah. And do you know what? I mean, to be honest with you, so in terms of Bali in general, I think in 2025 it's predicted there'll be over 7 million tourists.
Yeah.
So 2024 it was already on a increase based on the fact that COVID had now finished. A lot of people were looking for external excuses to leave the country and kind of just go and relax. But also what Sheena touched on, what really drove that passion and that idea was the fact that we were paying the same amount in rent for a decent villa, like a nice villa, as you would in the UK. So when we realized that, and when you go on Airbnb, that's the main platform that we use, we noticed that most villas were booked out.
Yeah.
So then we started to think, wait a minute. So there are holiday makers or what do
Like nomads?
Expats.
The backpackers, they have a different budget.
But and paying 1,000 plus to stay in a nice villa. Pounds.
Yeah.
Right. So in euros, that's even more. In rupiah, it's even higher. In dollars, again. And that's when we realized, wait a minute, there's definitely a market here. Obviously, the better the standard of your villa, the more you can charge. And there's always going to be someone who's going to pay it. Well, we were paying it, right?
Yeah.
So we're like, oh my gosh, we need to get into property.
Yeah.
And that's how we kind of gave birth to the whole property
development company.
Yeah.
But initially, we didn't begin as a development company, did we? We started as a management company because property management.
Yeah.
Because we saw that as like, do you know what? Why don't we get properties and we manage it, and that's how we'll make money. But
so for the listeners, like property management is like all the villas that are being rented out, they are like being taken care of by the cleaners, pool guys, garden. The garden has to be maintained too. And also maintenance has to be done on all the villas. So that's something that you guys started. But you were interested in.
Yeah.
Okay, but like we're diving into like the full story now, but we just want to go a little bit backwards. Like you started as the property management. Okay, and can you tell a little bit about how that went and how you changed into the next level?
Yeah, but sorry, I even want to go back.
Now this is also here in the podcast.
Hello, listeners.
Sorry, this happens so often. Just keep talking. I was like,
No problem. But first of all, respect on how you finished the MBA. Being here, because you say, well, you can do it in the sun, but for most people it's probably more difficult to do it in the sun.
Crazy.
Because like in the UK you can maybe blame the weather. Well, I'm just going to study all day because look at the weather. But here it's like, I want to be outside.
It was even worse because most of his team that he was like working with, they were US based. So he was like
even
crazy
hours.
So he'd be going to like, there's this great place called BeWork, which is a co-working space, 24 hours, and he would just be there till 3, 4 a.m.
So I'd arrive at 3. So a little bit of background, I think Sheena touched on it. So we have 2 baby girls. At the time, Zala was still pretty much a baby. Ocean, 3 years old. And
Zala was about 6 to 8 months old.
So in the daytime, let's say I wake up at, let's go backwards. My MBA meetings, because most of my do you call them colleagues? No, not colleagues, it's students. Other peers, I guess. Some are based in the US, some are based in the UK. So I'm working on both hours. So 7 p.m. meant that I needed to be at BeWork at 3 a.m. for memory. Don't fully quote me on that, but it was roughly that time, 3 a.m. And it'll be from 3 a.m. until 3 a.m. until 6 a.m. that I'll be online for the meetings. After 6, we'd have a brief until 9. After 9, I had to carry on some work until probably 11 midday. Then I get home then, by the way, I'm back in coffees.
Yeah. Oh my God, with 2 kids.
I ride home. But the ride home will be nice, right? Because I'm in B work. The fascinating thing about B work is like it's fully aircon. They have office spaces. So
They
when
have,
you're
like, the white lights as well, so
it's
you
brilliant.
You don't feel
like
it. Like in the casinos.
And you get a lot of other entrepreneurs, business owners. Everyone there has that mentality, right?
Yeah.
So you kind of get lost as well. I like to say the matrix, right? Because it's a different type of matrix to the West that we're used to.
Yeah.
This matrix is everyone's in shorts. Everyone's a little bit happier. So as much as you're tired, you're kind of fueled by everyone else's energy.
Yeah.
And it's only when you leave, you're like, oh, I've been here since 3 a.m. And then I'm riding my bike. And then I get home, then Ocean, our 3-year-old, Dada! And,
How do you manage that? With
Yeah. So, I mean, one of the main things to come to Indonesia was the support here. So we were like, we need a nanny. And she was a live-in nanny as well. So that was like amazing. So at the time I was also working UK hours. So I would do like the day with the girls, and then I would start about 4 or 5 p.m, do my day until midnight, maybe even 1 o'clock sometimes. So the nanny is like the morning. So she would like wake up, she would do the breakfast. And then by that time, Ange's come home, he's still got a bit of energy.
So
and then he plays with him from like 12 to like afternoon. And then he crashes. And by that time I've woken up and had my coffee. And then I would take over. And then, it's just like a little cycle.
Yeah. But just to go back
like
on...
3 of us.
when did you find time to make this third baby then?
We have to wait.
After the MBA, property stuff. Yeah, but just to go back on that, I think for anyone who is interested and has that kind of balance or they want to work remotely, it's brilliant because, like we said, we have B-Work, which is amazing, but also the support in Bali is different.
Yeah.
And I think this is why there's like a boom right now of entrepreneurs in Bali and business owners because of the support. So you have the nannies, the coffee the cafes that can cater to children with the playgrounds. There's just so much more. So as tired as you are, I feel like when you're in Bali and you're with the sun, it just gives you new energy to actually give time to your children.
Yeah.
So it sounds like we don't give them time, but the time that we have, we make it so special.
It's more
because
quality.
of the sun, we're a lot more happier, right? I mean, statistically proven that we operate a lot better in the sun. We're a lot happier in the sun.
Yeah.
So
I think like people are meant to be from our DNA perspective to be outside, to be travelers, but we got used to being stuck at our desk, like in square meter part.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah, and like you said, like in the Netherlands, there's like a big problem of child care. There are basically too many children and too little people who want
Can
to
take
work.
care of them.
But that's like a whole self-fulfilling prophecy because just like us, we have to stay at home 1 day in the week each. So we cannot work more because there is no child care, but then you earn less, so you cannot afford more child care. So you are like in
it's
this,
like a horrible cycle.
Trapped.
you're like a little trapped, and also with your energy, and also with that's the whole red race
weather,
part, the weather. So everything is on your life quality is like you said, like the life here you still want to work hard, but it's just different.
Yeah.
It is different, and also I think it's credit to the Balinese culture and the Balinese people. They're so friendly, they're so nice.
So welcome.
So it makes your day a lot easier.
Yeah.
You know? And I think we still have stress, right? Like we're both parents.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and we're both business owners, but it just makes it a bit easier, I think, to manage.
Definitely.
Yeah. And also we worked well as a team. So if there was a day like, okay, do you need to do more today? We just sourced out all the kids' spots. So we're like, okay, let's go to this place. So you can do your laptop bit, I'll play with the girls, and then we'll switch around. Or if we both know, okay, it's quite an easy day. Okay, we can all go to a soft play and we can all get involved kind of thing. And just balancing that load really.
Yeah. All right. So
Nice.
after the MBA.
Yeah, so after the MBA, I was kind of scratching my head as to... So I do more contract work. My background is contract project management. like I said, in business, mainly with central government. So I work with the Department of Health, etc., and local government. So that's the two that mainly focused. The policy side was something that I always valued. So I started to speak. Well, me and my missus, babes. Yeah, we had a chat and we just thought, you know what, should we go back? Because I earn really well, and that was kind of the sacrifice, isn't it? Because it was either earning over that, I don't know, being in the top bracket of earners based on my experience and now my MBA, or do we stay in Bali and make it make sense? And
you
have,
couldn't
the
continue
quality of life there, or do we have the security, the finance?
I mean, the thing is, we could do both, but I think we just got to a point where, based on the amount of energy that was going into the MBA, I needed kind of a break.
Yeah.
And what I also noticed was doing obviously a master's in business, right? All of a sudden, I think I adopted that sense that I know perhaps everything to do it myself. Because that's what you do. You study it on a high level, literally all the pieces of a business, all the, what's the word? Not pieces.
All the different sections.
All the different sections, that accumulate to actually running a successful business. And again, that's what we then thought, based on that, based on my project management experience, based on everywhere else that we've worked, Sheena's love for interior design, also her background that she's Indonesian, that helped. So let's get into property. And that's when it gave birth to it. We then delved into the whole property management stuff. But then from the property management, we realized you needed to actually get a property. They were like, so
well, you could manage properties for other people, but you just wanted it all.
We kind of wanted everything in-house. And we're quite specific. So we then, so from that, we then decided, wait a minute, this looks good. We were always posting online on socials, and lots of our friends, ask, how are you making this work, etc., etc. And we then started to pitch the ideas on, property. And I think the easiest one to begin with is, how much do you pay for rent in the UK? Oh, I pay 1,800, 2,500. Oh, is it? Oh, look what I pay for 1,800. And you look at it and you're like,
this mansion.
A swimming pool.
In London, you have maybe a 1-bed, a 2-bed, and it's looking back now, it's really congested, But back then in London, we think, it's amazing. We used to live right next to a stadium, so it was a really good area. We had a gym inside, pretty not expensive, but pretty impressive apartment. And we thought it was amazing. But then we were paying what? 2,400?
Something like that.
£2,400 per month. 2-bed, 1 floor.
Yeah.
It had ensuite, and like I said, it was nice.
Yeah.
Brilliant, right?
But in comparison.
When you compare 2,000, what you can get for 2,400 in Bali, it's basically a mansion.
Yeah, but you say you were starting to look into property, and there are so many ways you can look into property on Bali, because you can buy, you can get off plan, you can build something. In what way did you start looking into?
So again, going back into the whole feasibility, my background, I'm someone who, I guess I think, to be fair, it's thanks to my MBA. Because of the MBA, I realized anything that I do, especially in business, one thing you need to do first is you need to understand the market. And the best way to understand the market, one, everyone knows, is research. So everyone always does research, right? You do research before you invest, etc. But then for me, the next is understanding your environment. And we needed to understand Bali. I think there's a perception that you get as a tourist when you come to Bali is, wow, I'm in Seminyak, it's busy here, it's beautiful, etc., etc. Or I'm in Canggu, it's popping right now, it's busy, it's got nice cafes, etc., etc. But I think you don't actually know where to build, because you're so excited with all the opportunities. So I carried out a feasibility study. And a feasibility study was basically mapping out all the main areas in Bali. And we started from Uluwatu and worked all our way up to Tanalot. So you can go beyond Tanalot. But it's mainly all the areas that we know are hotspots. Looked at all the beaches, all the coffee shops, all the restaurants. It's literally like a really thorough study, probably a 24-page document that I ended up doing. And we both sat down, had a look at all of that, and then decided, okay, within those specific areas, where would the villas do best? Went on to Airbnb.
To find the villas?
To find the villas.
But then I'm half Indonesian, so I love a bargain. This is not the place to find the bargain. And then, then I started looking at some other places and actually found really good deals on Facebook Marketplace for longer leases. You do have to be careful. There are some scams out there, but I just feel like I just have an eye for these things. And
she's good. I tried.
Yeah.
No one responded to me with all the responses she needed. I'm like all night. Oh yeah, I'm interested. Like 50 villas.
I'm just very picky.
I have the same, but on social media posts. If I post something, it's like crickets there. If she posts, even if it's like a picture of a stone, and then, oh wow, that's so amazing. I'm like, I invested so much time in this post, trying to inform you.
It looks better as well.
The magic fingers.
Yeah. You just should quit. Go to the gym all day, every day.
Well, I think with our business meetings too that we have here, it's like you should always bring like people energy to the meeting.
100%.
Yeah.
I started to act like no.
I think that's why we both do well, perhaps, isn't it? That's your book is over there. Mine is Kelly over here. Maybe that's why we've ended up where we are. Children in Bali, podcast. Don't go anywhere.
Nice. You scored some points.
Yes.
Yeah, we have a female audience also, so you're now the top guy.
Saying all the right things. Right?
Right.
Yeah, so you're saying you're touching on Facebook, because I think that's a really valuable
So check.
advice.
It's a good,
Facebook Marketplace, that was really good. And like I would just like, even in my day-to-day I do like recruitment for like architecture practices, interior design practices, so I've even like gone through like portfolios of like visualizations before, and I can tell in a second if it's a real picture or if it's not. And even if I'm booking myself a stay in Airbnb, I'm like, okay, I need to be able to map out like the whole kind of
like
area.
The schematics of the whole.
I need to know the floor plan in my head from the pictures, kind of thing. And otherwise, I'm like, wait, where does that lead to? Is that looks a bit small? Or so I'm there, just like, okay, this one looks good. This looks good. And then we just booked loads of viewings one day, and I was like, let's just do like loads of viewings. We just need to find good property in this area. And like Ange said, we started a bit more northwest, because that's where we were. So we kind of, when we first moved to Bali, we were in like Malas, and then we slowly moved up and up and up. We did like Malas, and then Peranan, and then a bit further, and then a bit further, and then and then obviously you get the Canggu traffic, and it was a bit hectic, and then we're like, okay, let's see a bit further out, and basically on like Tanalot Road. And it's just beautiful, and there's like rice fields everywhere. And we were like a young family, and we're like, this is really nice, but it's still like 15, 20 minutes from all the hotspots if we want to be there. And so then we just looked at places around that area, around Chamagi, Sese. And then we started with one in Tanalot.
We started Tanalot.
Yeah.
And were you searching for villas that suited your needs as a family, or did you have different target audiences also in your research? Did you also think about expats who are just maybe want to be in the hustle and bustle like Canggu, but not as a family?
Yeah, I think a bit of both. I think it was more with a mindset of a consumer's perspective as opposed to ours, but at the same time, like I said, like we were the consumers, so it's like if we wanted to stay here,
like it,
other people want to stay here too. Nice. And the one that we have is. It's beautiful. There's like nothing around. There's like it's just rice fields. There's like the skim of the sea. Yeah, there's like a few like cow sheds, and that's all you can see. And then
the locals are so nice.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
every
nice.
morning, sama pagi, and sama sore in the evening. Beautiful sunsets. You kind of get to see there's like a sea view, really.
Yeah.
Isn't it? And it's just beautiful every evening. In the mornings you wake up and there's just birds chirping. There's a bird's nest randomly on the villa, and it just has like such an amazing energy. Tanalot. It's right next to the temple as well. So we assumed that the benefit of that would be it'd have an uplift in terms of rentals. Because anyone who's going to Tanalot maybe wants a pit stop at this specific villa, enjoy the view, and then continue with their journey back to Canggu or back to wherever they are. So that was one of the reasons why we ended up starting with Tanalot. And then it was the easy pitching. I wouldn't say easy pitching to the friends, but it's more like highlighting why this makes sense as an investment.
Yeah, I think it was more so just sharing on socials.
Yeah.
Like just sharing on socials. People were curious, they were interested. What are you doing? And then we're like, well, if you want, you can have a slice of the pie as well.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
how does it work? You find a villa and then you are looking in this price range, or you were just looking to any price range?
So at the beginning, we had a 20K price range.
And that was for a yearly rental?
That was for the yearly rental.
Okay.
So that's what we initially budgeted for. And then that's when it gets tricky, because we thought, do we build or do we rent? So initially we wanted to rent in.
Yeah.
We started to think, like, even though we liked that villa, we thought, does it make sense buying this villa, renting this villa? When I mean renting, I mean subletting.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'm assuming that works in
Subletting. Yeah.
So we thought, do we sublet? And obviously with sublet, you pay a year up front, or you can pay whatever. We preferred a year because it would go in line with my feasibility study, because it's more real-time data, right? You live in the villa, you understand the whole concept, the landscape, etc. And then you rent it out, you see how that brings in the income and all that.
You have the whole season.
Exactly. And I guess we're going to touch on that as we go, delve deeper into the podcast. But that was one of the reasons why we ended up doing it. So when we had to look at all the costs, we realized buying it probably doesn't make sense, because it costs them near enough peanuts, right? Probably off the top of my head, maybe £40,000. I'm not sure how much that is in euros. And they're going to sell it to us definitely for at least $200,
wow.
Right?
Yeah.
So, so we're like, we're not going to do that. And then we thought, okay, the other two options is, do we build? We were opposed to not building because we were young in Bali.
Yeah.
My study, the feasibility study, hasn't been completed, and it's more of a high risk because Bali is huge and it's beautiful, right? So we don't want to shoot ourselves in the foot and build in Tanalot.
Yeah.
Later
You're now
down
more
the line,
flexible.
you realize, oh wait a minute, actually building in Iwatu, where you guys are, which we've recently found out is actually a really good location.
Yeah.
So we ended up going for the second option. So I've said 3 by different orders. We've gone for the middle option, which was subletting, because one, that was more affordable, and 2, means we're not having to spend a large amount, especially when you're speaking to potential investors. It's easier to kind of like go with 18K to 20,000, rather than we're going to build and we need 150,000. It's easier to go with that. So that's where we started. We started with subletting.
Yeah.
And that would also fall in line with the property management. And then the next conundrum was really, how do we do this now? Who do we need to speak to? And luckily, we've been fortunate that Sheena is half Indonesian. Married into the right family. The right culture. And also her family are really not well known, but they have really good connections as yourself, Tessa. So we've been fortunate there, having to speak to the right people. We ended up speaking to Sheena's uncle, who's a really sought after contractor in Bali. And happens to be her uncle. When I say uncle, it's like, I guess, like your auntie's best friend. Uncle,
Maybe also a nice side note is that Sheena and I are family. We haven't even mentioned that. So our Sheena's mom and my dad, they're cousins. So we're like, in Dutch you would say achternicht of neef. I don't know how you say it. Like,
I forget in English.
Like,
it's not like second cousin. It's like, I can't remember.
Somewhere we're related.
We've pretty much grown up together. Like I remember you coming to visiting London a couple of times with Jay. So it's been amazing. I think like both of us, the way we all
Yeah.
like just
Yeah.
growing up
Bali.
together.
And
Now
now
we
here in
just
Bali.
linked up in Bali.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, when we were kids, we used to like see each other at like our auntie's weddings or something, and so it was really funny. Yeah,
Fun times in Amsterdam.
Amsterdam. Yes.
But yeah, so
Definitely.
it's nice, I think, having that family connection, and we've been fortunate. So yeah, he introduced us to really like important people that we needed to know, and it meant that we didn't have to run around Bali figuring out, okay, who do I speak? Do I go to this notary? Do I go to this accountant? Do I go to this agent to help me with the visas, etc.?
Yeah.
So we just had one specific person who signposted us to another person, and the other one, Yuli, she's brilliant. Another really sought after consultant in Bali. Really hard to get hold of her, and we just had on speed dial because of her uncle. So
Yeah,
she really
and it
helped us.
also meant that you didn't have all the
Stress for the
stress if it's the right connection or not, because a lot of people here say, "Oh, I know someone," because everything is commission based here, and everyone wants to earn something, and every Balinese is probably kind of handy to build stuff, but it doesn't mean that you are the project developer for the dream villa that you have in mind, and that's a whole different level, and we don't really think alike with the locals. I can say by now. So that's also the stressful part for us. But if you have this first trusted person, which can introduce you to all their trusted people, that's amazing.
It's really good.
That was amazing.
Yeah, we're really fortunate. Yeah, he's he would like bid against like 30 other contractors and like win the bids kind of thing.
Nice.
His stuff is just long standing, and that's what we found. Being in the rent to rent, obviously we don't have control over the build. Is what we found over time. Is like, okay, we need to build.
There's little things, you know,
tweaks and there's maintenance and there's like, okay, why
It just
is
doesn't make
done
sense.
like this?
Do you have some examples?
Yes. Oh, so many.
Like for instance, we'll use the most recent one. In one of our villas, we had this year we've been affected by the tycoon. So it's been raining season for pretty much 7 months.
Like,
Usually raining season in Bali is like, was it November?
It's a month,
November,
really.
Maybe December to January. Maybe, and it rains 1 hour in the morning.
Yeah.
The rest of the day is fine. Or might rain 1 hour at lunchtime. The rest of the day is beautiful, sunny. This time it's just raining consistently.
Our friends who've been here for like 12 years, like it's the worst.
It's the worst.
We've ever seen.
Same for us.
Yeah.
It's been manic. So
Crazy.
we had like a tycoon, right?
Cyclone.
Cyclone. I was like, oh, is this in English?
That's a word.
That's a word.
A roller coaster.
For those that don't know, it's basically like really harsh winds accompanied by heavy rain.
Yeah.
And
it's like tropical rain.
It's like tropical rain with crazy winds. And for some, I don't know how it happened, but somehow the wind shattered a glass. So there's a roof and there's a glass. And somehow the wind shattered the glass. Some pieces of the glass went onto the roof.
Yeah, like flew up.
Upwards onto the roof. And then from the roof, a piece of the glass slit
like a tiny bit
of the roof, which for some reason was synthetic.
Yeah.
No, it was just like one of those kind of
it's synthetic
aluminium foil.
Some form of synthetic
check your roof, guys.
We're from the UK, right? So we're used to brick roofs, and there's a brick roof.
It's like unbreakable.
For some reason, this beautiful villa that we took the lease out didn't have that specific roof on that specific location, and we unfortunately had a guest there who fell victim to it because he woke up and there was a huge leak. Waterfall going onto his
and you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry.
If you try to think of this, you wouldn't even think of this. And it was so bizarre.
And it was just so unfortunate. Like when we discovered what the root cause was, we were like, oh my gosh, it's literally just like the tail was like this big
Yeah.
of the whole
But
roof.
if you
and it's
saw
like just
what's
that
in the
big
inside,
laptop, and it's like,
and
You
because-
just place
Yeah.
your laptop there, right?
I think he
Like-
wanted a new laptop. Like, get rid of this old thing. Oh no.
It's not like, shut up, you should.
When you sent me the video, I was thinking, the laptop's
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you could have saved it.
I think he was sleeping. And
No,
it
no, I
must have
think it was
happened.
like data. I think it was just downstairs or something.
No, it was upstairs.
No, but he was probably
Oh,
downstairs.
maybe.
It was like, first make some content before I save my laptop.
He lost everything. And to make it worse as well,
I don't know.
that's what he said. And the leak was coming from light.
Yeah, it was like going over like the lights.
Oh, because there's a
So
hole
it
of
was
doors.
so dangerous. So
Yeah.
even
Yeah.
though we called the owners of this villa, they're really helpful as well.
Yeah.
So they
Okay,
have their
nice.
maintenance on round the clock.
Yeah.
I think that's something we've been really fortunate because we've spoken to a few other people who've done the similar things and their owners are non-existent. But
Yeah.
ours have been brilliant. Like something wrong, they
So
come
they
down straight away.
still fix those
still
kind of
fix
things.
it,
It's
yeah.
not
Yeah.
now it's your villa
No,
for
no,
the
they
year.
would it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Okay.
we made sure actually because
It was in the contract.
in the contract when you set up these agreements and you confirm on the building, one thing we definitely recommend is obviously go to a notary.
Yeah.
The notary does all the due diligence, all the background checks, and then you sit between yourselves and the owner and you come to an agreement with the contract in terms of what needs to be in that contract.
Yeah.
Even for a 1 year lease.
Yeah.
Like,
Some people don't. And some people
Yeah,
are actually advised that you don't need to. Ours didn't
you
want
don't,
to.
You don't have to. You
Remember,
don't,
ours
like
didn't
by
want to.
law,
Yeah.
you don't have to go to a
Yeah.
notary. You can just do it as an agreement and just paperwork and everything's signed.
Yeah.
But we wanted to do everything the right way. So we wanted to like set up the company properly. We wanted to make sure, okay, no, if we have external investors coming in, like everyone's protected.
Everything, yeah. The
Um,
governance is
yeah.
in
Nice.
place.
Yeah.
We've done our due diligence, and I think that comes from both sides because with Sheena and her work, she deals in contracts, etc. I've just finished an MBA, so all I care about is structure.
Yeah.
You know, everything needs to be making sense before the business
Yeah.
can even start, and contracts was one thing. So just going back to that, I think for your listeners, be very careful because a lot of owners, if you did want to delve more into the subletting,
The rent-to-rent,
before you
yeah.
build, make sure that you do go to a notary, and preferably, I think you find a notary who speaks English or your language as well as Bahasa, because a lot of owners will tell you they don't need that, and I was said it on multiple occasions. No, you don't need a contract. You don't need it. And the more we kind of kept pushing, then they were helpful.
Yeah.
And signposted us to one.
Yeah.
So
And just on the notary as well, it will be like if you can go to like the dual language base, that's great. So they'll have the contract, they'll have like the paragraph in Indonesian first and then in English underneath. But just for legalities, if anything does go to law, the Indonesian will always prevail. So whatever's on the Indonesian side, that's what you go
to
with.
make sure.
Irrelevant of
it
like
makes sense.
which basically
Exactly. Yeah.
And this is where we're fortunate, right?
Yeah.
Because Tessa, your background Indonesian, you speak Bahasa.
I just sent to my mom. I was like, I'll be okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
It's fine. It's like,
And usually we also use ChatGPT in a
Also,
we do
just on
also
every side we try to cover it. Just like you said, Indonesian part is
we can
binding.
still like
But I don't see if the translation is if something is lost in translation, which can happen more times
not
than you.
the same words sometimes.
Exactly.
Languages, yeah.
Nice, but that's very how do you say it?
Helpful.
Thorough and
Yeah, you have to be. I think it's again, this one of the reasons why we decided to do subletting was because we wanted to create a strong business case, a strong feasibility study at the end of the year, a strong portfolio.
For why? What for?
Next
for the next phase.
Yeah.
because we knew
For yourself or for other investors or both?
To be able to
Both.
then get the investment to build.
To build.
really,
Okay.
To build a villa.
because
And to confidently say to people, we've done it. There's a fantastic market here. It rents out. We've hit this marker. Let's do it for a long
Nice.
time.
Because this is when did you got this first one?
July.
We had our first one done a lot in July. By the time it was ready, was about
September.
it was kind of August, but then we also needed to at the time set up the company and get the quitas. So we had to leave the country for 10
that's
days.
another
That's
thing
the
to note.
visa.
Yeah.
That's another thing
Yeah,
to
we
note.
had to leave the country for 10 days. You can go anywhere. You don't have to go as far as we did back to the UK. But it's a nice time.
That's a lot.
You're sitting there in the rain for 10 days.
Yeah. It was August, it was actually.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
it's actually nice. And that's the thing as well. I think you don't. It depends. We went for the investor quitas because we have the long-term plan to build.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In Bali, you go for that type of quitas or PMA when you want to make money from
Yeah.
income
From
Yeah.
the property.
from your property.
So you can still own the property.
Yeah,
and
without
then
having to do any of
without-
that.
Yeah.
So that's something to know for your listeners.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess there may be some listeners who want to invest, but they don't want to have to go through all of that process, and that's also fine, But it's only when you specifically want to own that property, like
No one to make money.
So
Yeah.
to make
Yeah.
money from that property. Like for instance, we had an investor who wanted to invest, leave it with us, and at some point in the future, transfer the property into their name.
Yeah.
Which is then probably at that point that they need to go through that whole process.
Yeah, and are you then able to work yourself? Because in Indonesia, there's very strict law which says, well, you can invest here, but you have to let like the Balinese people, Indonesian people do all the work.
Yeah.
Which basically means that you are a director, but you can't even take a broom and
Yeah.
sweep yourself.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and
Yeah.
and I really like that. I think it's such a
Yeah.
good concept for other countries to
Yeah.
develop.
Yeah.
And just bringing their own up.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we take like their rice fields,
Yeah.
their beautiful
Mm-hmm.
islands,
Makes
and
sense,
give
yeah.
work in return. So if we also take the jobs, that wouldn't feel
Yeah.
Fair, yeah.
Fair.
And you see it everywhere you go. All the hospitality, all the restaurants,
All
cafes.
Indonesian.
It's all Indonesian
All
local
Indonesian.
workers. And it's
Yeah,
really
even
nice.
our workers. And by law, you need to have at least one staff who earns over 3.5 million per month. So that's how it starts.
One employee, yeah.
An
Yeah.
employee for the business.
yeah, and that's the equivalent of how much?
£3.5,
Pounds, it's like
150,
150, 170 pounds.
150
maybe.
pounds, I'd say.
Yeah,
In
Yeah.
euros, probably 170.
Yeah, a little bit more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah,
So
and that's then above market rate in this country island.
well, it's. I'm not entirely sure, but that's what our consultant advised. She
Yeah.
advised that you definitely have to, and
Yeah.
you need to be careful with that as well, and make sure you have that in place, because when you set up your company, I think each year the government asks you to complete a specific type of form, and you need to note who your staff are, how much you pay them, so they stay on top of it as well.
Yeah.
So it's something again for your listeners and yourselves, to make sure that's. And this is where it makes sense for anyone who wants to invest with yourselves. And I'm not just saying that because you're family and
No, for anyone. Yeah.
and you guys vice versa to work with us. You need to work with someone who's been here for a while, has that
Yeah.
whole PMA investor setup, because there is an expectation from the government in terms of taxes. Well, firstly, taxes is 11%. It may have gone up, but last we checked when we enrolled was 11%. That there's a threshold that you need to meet per year. Your business needs to make over £25,000. No, needs to make over £25,000. But officially, it actually needs to make, is it 500,000?
Yeah,
Over the space of 2 years.
Over
yeah.
the space of 2
Yeah.
years,
It needs to,
500,000.
yeah,
But that's turnover.
Dollars, sorry, not pounds.
yeah.
So many
Yeah.
currencies. Yeah,
Yeah.
dollars turnover.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it
Minimum.
doesn't have to be profit, but that's how
Yeah.
much.
That's how much
have
needs
to
to
go
go
through the
into
company.
your company.
Yeah, and that's the whole strange part where we are struggling with.
Exactly.
Like if you own one villa and you just want to have that like cash flow coming in each month,
But that counts.
as passive as you can be, like we being in the Netherlands and just having this villa, then you have to set up this big PTPMA, which is a BV in the Netherlands, but you will never get that $500,000
No.
So
income
yeah,
or
apparently
revenue.
that's the
Great.
that's the
That's-
threshold.
Yeah,
That's the threshold.
But if you don't make it, it might just be a sacrifice on the amount of tax or something you have to pay. So it's not like this is the law, you have to make this amount of money. Like if you don't, it's also okay. So
Yeah.
you just have to fork out a little bit more somewhere else.
You just have to have minimum 25,000 that has gone through the business.
Yeah.
That's it. Okay.
That has gone through the business. That has gone through the business. So that's something to note, because a lot of people think, oh, do you know what? You're doing that. Yeah, I'm just going to go to Bali and do it myself.
Yeah,
So,
it's not
probably
nice.
not
Yeah.
the best idea in terms of,
All right. So a little bit forward. You have done this now 4 times, right? With your you are renting 4 villas.
No,
currently.
so we have 2.
2.
Initially, we planned for 10.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
So 10 times
We were like working our way down the
20,000
line, like
was
200K.
200K.
And then leveraging, like
Yeah.
showing other
That's
people.
where I got the number 4 from.
Yeah. No, it's quite confusing. But the reason why we ended up doing the 10 is because we thought we'll understand. It's basically, that was like thorough, like a really thorough study. And I think to any investor, anyone having a look at that would look and agree, okay, this is a specific area that we need to invest in, because clearly you've spent £200,000 to make sure that you're aware and you're definitely going to bring me back this investment that I'm bringing in.
Yeah.
But then we didn't go for that because 1, it's a lot of money. And 2, initially we did have that investment.
Yeah.
But I think the more we spoke to our investor as well, we both agreed that it's probably not the best use of funds, because you could build a really nice villa, probably build this villa twice over for that amount. And that's when we just settled with 2. We went for Tanalot. We then went to Chimagi because it's really close to Canggu. And this is the Chimagi villa.
Yeah.
We're.
Which is amazing. So if viewers can see it in video,
You guys
then
have been testing it.
We've been testing it out. We are here
Yes.
for 4 nights now.
yes, we can probably
We
do.
are extending our stay.
Like cribs.
Yeah,
Empty cribs.
and the area for us is amazing. We actually fled Canggu after 2 weeks because
it's busy, isn't it?
and it's perfect for other situations. We as a family like the more quietness here.
Yeah.
It's a really good location because it's close to Canggu.
Yeah.
Further.
Yeah, and actually a lot of young families have said that to us. A lot of people that we've met in like play places,
Yeah.
they're like, we're in Jamagi, we're in Sese.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then we're like, yeah, we were in Canggu. But yeah, it's literally this past year we've spoken to probably like 10 people who've been like, yeah, we moved to that place. Yeah.
So it's the 2 it's the 2 we're in at the moment now. And I guess following the 1 year, then we'll know exactly where we need to build. But it's funny we're even saying that, because part of our study was also to speak to property managers, because they know better than ourselves, right? They've been here for years. They're already delving into this.
Yeah.
They have multiple villas. And one thing that we learned from our study, our research, was that, and not just our research actually, just owning 2 villas, was that people actually just care about the villa and the concept of the villa. Do you see what I mean? So it makes sense that it's not really even about the location.
Yeah.
It's just about what type of villa that you provide.
Yeah.
You know?
I think it's very different across the spectrum. So, someone we're talking to says, the location, it doesn't really matter. Like if you are having someone who's coming to stay there for 2 nights and they just want to be in the middle of nowhere in Cinnamon in a bamboo hut, they'll get there and they'll find it and they'll pay the premium to be there for that experience. But then again, it depends what you want as like a rent-to-rent business. Do you want someone in there for like a longer stay, for like a 3 months, a 6 months, a 12 months? Or do you want the day-to-day of like, we would rent it out for 1 or 2 nights minimum, do the sheet changes, pay for that laundry fee, which is a lot, guys.
Yeah.
Because not many houses have washing machines. So you have to take that into consideration as well. But obviously on that end, you can charge the premium of the Airbnb prices on the daily rental. But yeah, it's very different across the board. And we got some really good information. Like Seminyak is great. It's not really seasonal. So it's like constantly everyone will go there. And
close to Denpasar, the airport.
The airport.
It's also.
And lots of our friends who come to visit, they probably stay there for like 2 nights, maybe even on the way in or the way out. They're like, I'm just Seminyak for a bit. The ones are coming down.
It's just made the way down.
Yeah. But yeah, everywhere's different. Obviously, you get different people in Uluwatu. They're more surfers. It can be a bit more seasonal as well. Canggu is more the digital nomad. So again, they're here for the longer stays. So it really depends on what you are willing to do as a company and as much energy as you have.
And what do you prefer now then, with more experience and maybe look in the future? Like, what's it that you are gonna target?
I think we're settling more for now concept because
yeah, we would love to build a concept villa. I think coming from our creativity, I think we could make something just really special and really beautiful. And I think that in itself is like just the experience of being able to stay somewhere that's just stunning. I think that's really
and then
nice.
really build yourself. Not,
Yeah. But I think as tough as it is, and it is really tough to do the Airbnb daily rentals, I still think I'm happy to work hard to get the good money.
Yeah, I think personally, Airbnb, I think, is a more stable platform. We used booking.com as well, but with Airbnb, there's a higher footfall. I think the due diligence on Airbnb is really good.
Yeah.
The safety measures and safeguarding they have for both the host and the guests, again, are really impressive.
The insurance is good.
The rate isn't too, I mean, in the beginning, it sounds quite a lot. I think I'm not going to quote the percentage, but it sounds quite a lot.
Yeah.
But it's really not. And again, it goes based on the property. You have a really good property, you can charge a lot and you don't really feel the Airbnb. You're charging low, then you start feeling the Airbnb. And this is why going into what Sheena's saying and what I mentioned is the concept villa makes sense because you're building a concept. So already the standard is quite high.
Yeah.
The location is brilliant. For instance, where you guys have built in Uluwatu, because there's a high footfall. It's highly in demand at the moment.
Yeah.
Untouched. So it's just, you need to get the right balance, you know. So for us, we're now definitely going to build.
But do you know the location then yet, or a broader area where you want to investigate?
Yeah, I think personally, I think for an investment to make the most amount of profit,
rentals,
I would go now with Canggu, Perennanan, and Uluwatu. That area.
Yeah.
Those are the main areas. I mean, I think concept is brilliant because concept you can build it anyway. It doesn't matter. It could be,
And with concept, just to clarify, you mean like your own concept, your own beautiful, some special villa, not the same as all the rest.
It's like the Instagram-worthy experience.
Yeah, exactly.
There are actually villas that are mainly focused on being Instagrammable, where you literally have all these spots where you can take the pictures and the videos.
Like slides going to the
that's what this villa is. I think we've had a lot of influences that stay here because you have the staircase, you have the vase, you have the pool, you have upstairs, and that's what the concept is, basically designing something which has something. So designing
a design concept.
Designing like a bamboo type.
Yeah, it's like a cedar moss.
Or Mediterranean themed villa in Bali. Tulum. In Bali. So
the Japandi is also upcoming. Japandi stuff.
This one is the Panama villa.
Panama. So you just build, because what we notice and what makes us the most money is one, mainly couples. Really, the most people that book are twos. They book in twos.
Yes,
book in twos. They're the ones that make you the money. Yeah,
the first villa we have is like a 3-bedroom villa. We were a family. We were like, we're going to get some families that come and stay, or group stays. No, we've had like 2 probably.
Really?
Still
Such
couples
a big
coming.
villa?
Like groups of people. Most of the people are couples.
Just in twos, couples.
That just want to stay in
Bali.
more space.
They want the beautiful view. They just want the whole scene without having to go to Canggu and
Sometimes with this one, there's there's either like 2 couples upstairs, downstairs, or like a few young families. But
again, it's the couples. It's the twos. Because if you deep it, most people come to Bali to escape. So most people come to Bali to enjoy and just be free, And
it's quite a romantic island, You're like, okay, but let's go to Bali.
You can go to the hustle and bustle again and the quietness.
And then the budget for this kind of travel is usually higher if you just on a vacation, if you just have the 25
Yeah, that's
you see here.
the whole thing about short stay. That's why in our mind, in our investigation, a short stay high-end villa was a better return on investment. Of course, once the investment is paid fully back, a higher priced villa will return more money. That's logic. Yeah. But also, like you said, if you have a higher night rate, the OTA fees for Booking.com and Airbnb is lower compared to like that's it's leveraging again. Yeah. So that's better.
Yeah. So we have a lot of listeners that are also like, we're romanticizing a villa on Bali, but not everybody has that kind of money. Yeah. I hear from your story that you started with like the 20K investing and now you're growing into something bigger. So would you recommend listeners to like start the way you did, or what are the things that you've learned from this process that you wouldn't recommend?
I've been such an amazing learning curve. Yeah. And I think we had to go through this and we had to experience it to get to the point of like, we're ready to build and ready to build something like of real quality. Like we've spoken to different contractors and we've had like prices across the board for like different villas. And
from like, $30,000 US.
Oh, US dollars.
Yeah, from $30,000 US to build your 2-bed to $90,000, which is the highest spec. Wow. 3-bed. No, so 1-bed. That was 1-bed. Yeah. 2-bed from 50,000 to 135,000. Yeah. That's excluding the land. Yeah. And then we've also networked. In Bali, you just speak to people. Yeah. Everyone wants to speak to you. Everyone who has a business wants to speak to you and share their knowledge. And we've been fortunate to speak to a lot of other property developers, etc. They've introduced us to landowners, locals. So you kind of cut out that middleman and stop getting those ridiculous prices. So you get quoted for a piece of land from 500 pounds per hour. So I keep switching through. Yeah, but it's like $600. For 1 hour. But had you not had that connection, and let's say someone like one of your listeners wants to come and do it themselves, and they don't necessarily want to go with yourselves or ourselves, and they just come here, they'll be getting quoted $1,000, $1,200, even $3,000 for that 1 hour that you were quoted $600,000 because you live here, you've spoken to the locals, you build those relationships.
Yeah, I think if you do want to do the rent to rent, I think it's been it's just been a real experience. It's been a real learning curve to then want to be like, this is how to successfully build a villa. Success, because we've had just a long list of like maintenance. We've had a long list of like, but why did you do it that way? We wouldn't do it that way. And maybe if we were to like get another rent to rent, we're definitely going to check like certain things like how many swimming pool filters do you have in the swimming pool?
How many filters?
Like, is there a filter like on the
water? Is your aircon facing the right?
Is the aircon over the bed? Or it's just the little things that it makes such a difference.
That changes everything.
And it does. It really changes things. And it really does. And so there's certain things that we're just like, we just wouldn't do it that way. Or is the bed movable? Is it a concrete bed? Can we move that? When we had the water leak, we couldn't do anything about it. We can't even, it's on the floor. Yeah.
Your listeners will know what you're talking about once you show them the villas. Jokes.
But I would also say, if you did want to do it, you have to be here.
You have to be here.
If you want to do it.
Full time, or is there like a hybrid version?
If you had a good property manager, but at the same time, they come at a cost, and it could be anything between 12% to, like you were saying, 20%. Yeah. So again, it depends how good your villa is to really make a profit at the end of the day. And on a rent to rent, it's obviously less than what you would have in terms of owning it. So we found actually we're quite good at just managing the calendars and doing it and like getting everyone on board and organising the cleaners, organising the gardeners and stuff ourselves. So. Yeah, I would say 75% of the time you'd probably have to be here. 50%, 60%.
No, I think you do, but again, it just goes with working with a reputable brand. It's like back where we're all from, we have certain companies that you go for mortgage, a certain bank that you go, and it's all because they're reputable. They have history. They've done all the mistakes that you don't need to do, and that's why you've gone with these guys rather than a bank that started last week offering you a high interest mortgage. It's like, I'm not going with you guys. Do you know what I mean?
So the right systems in place.
I think to answer your question, for your investors or anyone interested, no, you don't need to be here as long as you're working with a brand that you trust. a brand that is transparent. So for instance, ourselves, I'll give you an example of ourselves because we've been here longer. We have a report that we send to all our investors every month. It has the report of how much income each villa has done. It has a risk register. It has basically the goods and bads. It has reviews that has just come in, and anything else that we expect to possibly happen. And I think there's a lot of brands that you can work with in Bali that are not going to give you that. They're going to ask for a deposit. So yeah, you want to build a villa? Great. Give me £5,000 deposit. They'll promise you ROI, 10% to 20%. You don't have that transparency. And I think the benefit of your listeners, our listeners listening to this is that they know us. They've seen us live the lifestyle.
Yeah.
You're both Indonesian. You've set up everything to make sure that they can just call you and say, hey, how's the villa? So again, to answer your question, sorry, I'll start waffling on, is no, you don't have to be here. But what our donors recommend and what we recommend our investors is make sure you visit, at least visit, have a look at your investment, come to Bali. And what that will probably do is just give more fuel to invest even more. Because I think when you come here and you see everything yourself, you're like, oh my gosh, this is where my money is going. This is how much I'm earning. Like for instance, this villa per month probably brings us 1.8 low season, £1,800 low season, high season 2,300, right?
Is that revenue?
Pounds.
3K for time then?
Okay, yeah. Like between, if we're saying ranges, 2,300, I'd say to 3,300.
Yeah.
But that is impressive. In Bali,
Pounds.
Yeah.
there's a villa. You're earning 3,000.
Is that earnings? Yeah.
So it's really impressive.
And with earnings, so it's net earning. It's not
Net profit.
revenue.
So it would be, I'd say it's net. What we promise, well, the arrangement that we have with our investor is, example, and I'm only going to use subletting because that's what we have at the moment.
Yeah.
You invest 20K, you get 20% ROI. But 20K at the end of the year, between us, well, now our listeners, you're probably making up to 30,000 plus.
Yeah.
So 20% of 20K isn't that much.
No.
And 30,000 is on the low scale. So you're bound to make a lot higher.
Yeah.
And this is why it goes again on making sure you're building the right concept villa, making sure you're in the right locations. Because in Ongusan, Oluwatu, you can make up to £6,000 per month. And imagine you're doing that for 12 months.
Yeah.
So obviously you have the low and high seasons, but it's a lot easier to make that money back.
Yeah.
And I guess if you're building, again, I would encourage it because it's quite different in Bali compared to other parts of the world. It can take 5 months for you to build a 1-bed, or it can take 12 months for you to build a 2-bed. And again, that's why you have to go with a reputable contractor. There are different stages in which you can also sell that. So you can sell it at construction, off-plan, or when the build is complete.
Yeah.
So there's, again, other ways for you to make this income. There's another thing I was going to say, but I've literally just lost track of what I was saying.
No, but it's really
Talk too much. I'm a chatterboxing.
yeah, but it's so much value for us and for the listeners, and the many ways in which you can start, get experience in the whole rental business, and then implement it in building your own concept villa.
Yeah.
And that's amazing. Like that's also why we decided not to go building ourselves first. One of those reasons was we want to have experience first. So we went for an off-plan with a very reputable builder and architect firm. So even saying the architect from the design from our villa will make it sell very easily with a very
even just a name,
high price.
just a brand.
Yeah, so that's was a no-brainer apart from the 34 years lease on the land, which is also amazing. So that was our journey in going for the off-plan first.
It is also funny because we decided to go for off-plan because I was pregnant at the time. And I would say, I don't want to go through all the stress while being pregnant. And you are just managing.
Yeah.
They said, I'm pregnant. I'm like, I'm
that's amazing. But it's all like gathering info, doing your research, your due diligence, building
and also
say a network of people and companies, and then finally, just like you in the near future, and us hopefully too, building your own villa is the right way to go.
Yeah, and also we are now at the point of view because we were thinking before we started this, we just want to do an off-plan ourselves, and we didn't have the experience at all, and we haven't even been on the other side, and now we are on the other side, and we experience the many questions we have to our builder and the many things that he has to manage, and the payment plans and everything that has to come to like the project management from the other side of the off-plan builder, and we are now questioning, would we want to be on this?
Do we want annoying customers with negotiating and
the thing is, you probably could do now because you have the connections.
It's different.
It's like, do you want to put your energy into
that?
The reason why I would recommend is because the amounts you're investing can be 100% profit, 200% profit, 300% profit. It's crazy. And I don't think in the West we get that kind of profit that quick.
But at least now we know what to expect when you are on the other side.
And just to go on that, like when you're building here, you can set up payment plans. So for instance, most contractors would ask for 30% payment plan and the rest of it you pay monthly. So for an investor or one of your listeners, straight away they must think, I need 100K or I need 135 because that's what I've been quoted. Not necessarily, you just need 30% of that. And the rest of it is per month, which can come from your wages, or if there's a collective, you're not even going to necessarily feel that. So that's why Bali makes so much sense, and there's so many people investing here because there's a clear structure that you need to follow, and you don't need to just put down 200K, etc., etc. To go back to your question, and for your listeners who may be interested in terms of profits, each month to break even for our 10 lots, all we need to make is 1,085, right? So each month we probably have a profit between 1,000 to 2,500.
Wow.
Now, I think personally, looking at other places in the world, you're not going to get that. And that's profit.
But that is net profit.
That's profit.
That's
and
amazing.
Based on the fact that we actually chose Tanalot because we assumed we're going to have 9 other villas. So if we actually had a think and thought, you know what, let's do this again out of curiosity. I have another £20,000, right? I just want to do this out of curiosity. I'll just go to Canggu or Uluwatu. Because there, the footfall is so high, your profit is insane. Your profit, each month you're looking at potentially 2,000 to 4,000 each month profit. So,
and that's also a big part of that is because you manage yourself, right?
I think because everything is in the house, 100%.
But also then the energy you put in, because we are like to think of ourselves at this point as passive investors. But that also means like if you have a revenue of $5K dollars or whatever, and then you have the 20% management fee, and then you have the tax and local tax, the income tax, and this and that.
It kind of adds up.
The costs, and then you earn maybe like $2K net profit per month.
But that's still amazing.
It's still amazing.
It's still a lot.
For sure.
I think that's why lots of people are interested in investing in Bali, because I personally, another thing is like, that's why you can probably give that 18 to 20% interest. And some people say, 18, you're going to give me 18, 20, you're going to give me 21, 22. And it's like, that's such a high number. But because you're making so much, it's actually affordable. And that's why I always advise most of my investors come to Bali. Because once they see it for themselves, and they see what other people are charging, and they see the beauty of your villa, they're like, okay, I see why.
I get it now.
If you are willing to pay it yourself to stay somewhere, like
someone else is going to do it. So
true.
That's my recommendation, I guess. Just to advise in terms of what potential earnings you can definitely make. And I think from building obviously makes sense because what you're putting in is going to be a lot less compared to what you sell. There's different markets here. There are different communities here, which are actually just buying up locations, buying up villas, etc. So again, just highlights the type of ways you can see your return on investment a lot quicker than a lot of other ways that you might want to invest.
Yeah. I think from this episode we really got some nice information and also some motivation maybe from people who want to start and know that they can start small and can dream big and make it real. Is there anything else that you wanted to share?
I think definitely if you are interested in investing in Bali, like I said, go with someone you know, because that's the first step. Go with someone you know because you can literally pick up the phone and ask the questions that you need to. And then secondly, come to Bali at some point. Even if you make the investment, come to Bali because once you're in Bali, it'll just give you more fuel to invest more. And then thirdly, we're in an age, I think, where our happiness is always being tested, you know, and you need to now start thinking about the future. Obviously, it's great coming from, you guys come from Netherlands, we come from the UK. Yes, it's amazing. We make a lot of money from where we are. But in terms of assets, it's now, I don't believe, the best place where we can hold our assets because we're being taxed too much, you know. We're encouraged to make money, then you're taxed. You're encouraged to invest, then you're taxed. You know, and then you own what you think you own, but you don't really own it. Whereas in Bali, this asset is yours. You know, there's no inheritance tax. So when you're investing not just for yourself, you're investing for the future.
The generational wealth.
Generational wealth. And this is where your generational wealth is now, you know, I think is, you know, so it's definitely something for you to think about and just ask as many questions as you like.
Thank you. I think that closes up really nice. Thank you for listening. If you really enjoyed this episode, leave us some stars and follow us on our socials. Tot de volgende.
Tot de volgende.
Say what?
Hey.
How did you get that?
Yeah.
It's like your cousins.